So how's it going?
Very well, very good.
Good.
Bob, this is great
Yes.
again to be talking to you, and you've been very busy.
Thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
You're very welcome. I mean, you're a busy man, and everything we're seeing on Facebook, and the social media world just keeps on being bigger and stuff. Have you ever been this busy?
I have. As a touring musician, I was busier than this. If you're taking a plane flight every day, going somewhere to play, that's pretty time consuming. This has been being in the studio working on my book and all of the other things that are going on has been extremely busy as well.
And that's an interesting name for a book, Confessions of a Killer Heavy Metal Axeman. I mean, how long did it take you just to figure out that title?
Oh, it was a process of elimination of everybody chipping in ideas and trying to find something that was catchy, but yet, kind of clever, and then, trying to make the most of the play on words, obviously. I'd had several other titles. Titles are hard things to come up with because that's what people are going to know, whatever it is by. The title of an album, the name of a band, the title of a book, the name of a movie. You got to live with it. So I think this, to me, is as close to accurate a title as you could get, although it doesn't encompass my production stuff, or my writing stuff. It mainly just references me as a guitar player, but I guess in its own way, that's where it all starts for me anyway. That it started as a guitar player, still playing guitar, and all of it is based around my ability to play guitar and understanding music, so I guess it does technically work.
And Bob, how many years have you been, putting this idea for the book?
The book idea has been around for a long time, but then the reality of having to sit down and actually do it is a whole other kettle of fish, so to speak. Thinking about something, and then there'll be the chapter on Lou Reed, and then there'll be the chapter on Alice Cooper. It's all great to think about until you have to sit down and start to create the sentences. Does this tell the story properly? Does this have the proper sense of humor or the proper seriousness? Or does this explain exactly what it is I'm talking about? It's not that easy. If somebody's making up a story, then the sky's the limit. So the alien ship landed and the creatures got out. That's easy. But to tell a story of something where, I've checked with other singers and musicians and road crew people, I just want to double check my memory. Is this what happened? Is this right? So, there's been an amount of research that's gone into this as well, i.e. my asking people who were on the road with me or in the studio with me or whatever, do you remember this? And then there's been times where they were like, no, it wasn't. We were there for 8 weeks at Abbey Road. It was 8 weeks at Abbey Road. 8 weeks we were there. Oh, I didn't realize it was 8 weeks. So then there's stuff that I'd forgotten or misremembered. And so other people were able to fill in the blanks for me, which has been very helpful as well. Because I want it to be as accurate as it could possibly be.
Of course.
To say. Yeah.
In the past, did you keep journals, of, tour dates and all that stuff?
I was able to find my calendar from a few years, rehearsed with Lou Reed, preparing for tour, preparing for record, recorded with Kiss, recorded with, went on the road and played with blah, blah, blah. I do have a few years that literally has most of the dates on there, which has been instructive. And then there have been all the tour books, Meat Loaf tour book, Alice Cooper, John Cale, Paul Stanley. I have those tour either itineraries or like Meat Loaf had programs that he would sell that would have the whole list of all the shows. Mm-hmm. So, for instance, I was actually able to look on the schedule of Monsters of Rock shows and find the day that I met Lemmy.
Nice.
September 4th, 1984. Playing in Nuremberg, Monsters of Rock. It was in the book. And I remember that was the day because of what happened on stage that day and because of where the gig was. The ex-German stadium where Hitler gave all the speeches, that's where that show was, Nuremberg. at that stadium there. So this has been instructive in that it's kind of refreshed my timeline. So somebody asking, so when was that? September 4th, 1984. You know, so to be able to find some of those, the last Meat Loaf show gig was blah. The first gig I did with Alice Cooper was to actually see those dates kind of, you know, compared to, February 10th, 2016. You know, it kind of puts it in perspective how long ago some of that stuff was and how different the world was then, the circumstance of recording was then, the circumstance of a live performance, no inner ears, you know, none of the advances, you know, none of the Pro Tools fix-it devices that exist now in the studio. You know, I'm in the studio recording my own EP. I'm using the new technology to, can we move this note over here? Can I replace this note with this note? And whereas back in the day it would have been a huge, like, how are we going to do that? Just play it in. That's the way to do it. Now it's become the usage of the new machinery, the new tools of the trade, shall we say, that have appeared now that change the way people record, change the way people tour, change the landscape, the business that was back when I started. So, you know, it having all these dates kind of, to me, provides a reference point of, right, so this was done before 24-track. This was done when Pro Tools first came out. This was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
All of, you know, when we went from analog tape to using D88s, those small cassette size reel-to-reels inside that were digital, that they had these small machines for, that almost sounded as good as a reel-to-reel tape, except still wasn't reel-to-reel tape. But I remember when we moved formats to that. So, you know, it's kind of been a real refresher course for me to write a book, which you go back over all this stuff and then all of the memories of, so what did you use for monitors back then? We didn't have any monitors. Right. So this was the difference between that and this, where people are where I'm at a show here in Vegas, and there's no volume on stage because everybody's using inner ears. And so you'd expect to hear blaring amplifiers and drums and all that, and you barely hear anything. It's all just projected through the PA system into the house, and all the musicians are using inner ears, and that's where they're hearing their guitar solo or their drum fills, blah, blah, blah. That's a whole different world than getting up and just playing. To have all this going on while I'm writing my book, because it points up all of the differences between what it was and what it is.
And like that is giving you a lot of new knowledge that you forgot.
Yeah, and the appreciation of the fact that was able to manage to be great under circumstances that were not the circumstances that are available now.
Right.
So, you know, somebody's not complaining that they can't hear themselves because they have their own inner ears now, so they can all dial in what it is, whereas back in the day it was a fine line. There's plenty of vocals in the monitor, but I need a little bit of guitar. I'm kind of getting drowned out. This is the nuance people don't discuss now. All of these big shows and big bands, it's all inner ears and wireless and all of this stuff. Whereas back then it was a whole other creature. So, you know, the difference being that it's a lot easier now because the science and, you know, all of the inventions and all of the tools that are available have facilitated it being easier than it was. Back then, the main thing you needed was pure talent. That was the one thing that today's generation doesn't compete well with. You have all the technology, but the talent level, because the bar has been dropped, is not the same. Somebody who didn't have monitors, who had to sing and only hear themselves through a PA system, their voice was obviously better trained, better used, better heard in their own ear than somebody who's being given a crutch. Here, just stick this in your ear. Do you hear yourself? Yep. Okay, you should be good to go now. That makes it a lot easier. So I'm not making a value judgment, right, wrong, or indifferent. I'm just making a factual judgment. This is the way it used to be. This is the way it is now. So the difference is it's not a minute difference. It's not a nuance. It's a huge difference. The same as the way stuff is recorded. Where back in the day, a band would go in and organically record something until they got a take that they liked, and then maybe add this, that, the other thing. Now, pretty much most stuff is done piecemeal, fixed, diced, sliced, put up on the grid, time corrected, pitch corrected, made perfect. All of the feel is squeezed out of it, and all you get is it's right on the grid. It's all perfectly set up with a click track. Doesn't move, at all. It doesn't have any feel to it. It's not like it's getting a little faster now. They're a little bit on the edge of it now. It doesn't do that. All of it's fixed and placed properly in its place, and that's why a lot of the music today sounds stiff, because nobody's doing Lucy in the Sky with Diamonds. Speeds up into the chorus, and then it slows back down into the verse. They didn't use a click track to record that. No. They did that as a band. They did that as an organic thing. That's way different than the way things are recorded now. Nobody does it that way anymore. They wouldn't take that chance. It's got to be perfect, close. So it's got to all be done with a click track and the grid and Pro Tools and all of that stuff. Back then it was just like, take 26. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can get it this time. People who were talented enough to do 26 takes until they got it. Big difference.
After you start doing 26 takes, you start being a specialist at what you do.
Well, yeah, and then that's what I'm saying, that, if you look at it on face value, all the old bands had it over all of these bands, in that they played more. They did more gigs. They did more rehearsals. They had more experience. Why? Because the only way to do it was to actually do it.
Right.
There wasn't any, well, that's good enough, we'll fix it and we'll call you in a few days and it'll all be perfect and you can do some more editing later if you like. It wasn't that. It was about the organic performance. And that's part of what's been lost now. So what about this vocal part? It's just flat, they'll just fix it. Yeah, it might be able to fix the notes, but does it fix the performance? Does it make it heartfelt? Does it make it real? The answer is maybe, maybe not. So it's a different world, and I've accepted that things change, and that these are the tools of the trade now. It's no different than me having a little tuner that I can put on the headstock on my guitar when I go on stage, so I can see if I need to tune the string. It's just sitting right there. You don't have to turn off your volume to check your tuning or hit a kill switch so it stops going through the amp and it just shows the tuner. I mean, all of that stuff, that technology has provided, I like a lot of it. Mm-hmm. But again, to me, the fact that it has affected the way people perform and the way people practice and the way people go to the studio, that's really the downside of that. Because of the technology, people are lazier now, and hence, the fix it and what's happening today. Oh, they're putting it all together, cleaning it all up. And back in the day, it would be like, what does that mean? What does that mean? They wouldn't even know what you were talking about. Well, we're pitch correcting it and, putting it up on the grid. It didn't exist. You know what I'm saying? It was just like, okay, we're going to record the song, set up. Okay, there's take one. No, let's try again. You know what I'm saying? It's a whole other way of doing things.
Whole different planet. And how's your EP doing? You working hard at that?
Almost done. So we're ready to start mixing. We have 3 songs that are finished, and we're just waiting on our last singer. And then I have one more guitar solo to do on that song, and then those 4 will be done. And then we'll see if we're going to turn this into a CD or if I'm just going to go with the EP, and maybe the EP in conjunction with the book might be a really good combo platter. Mm-hmm. It seems like fate has, just pushed them both to be ready at the same time for a reason that's unknown to me, but obviously part of the grand plan of what it is, I guess. So just accepting that, along with all the other stuff that's happening, productions that are coming my way, possibility of some other stuff that I think would be good to be able to do. But really excited to have, a great cast of my friends and new people that I've met here in Vegas on, 12 other people on my 4 songs. And I feel really, really good about their original songs, and I think they're really good songs. Mm-hmm. So not doing cover songs, not doing somebody else's songs, not doing songs that I wrote 10 years ago. These are all brand new songs nobody's ever heard. So this for me is the first time, the only time in my whole life that I've ever done something that's just going to say Bob Kulick. And then I'll put "and friends" because without the other people on there, it wouldn't be what it is. It's not a solo record. It's me utilizing, you know, all these guys that I really respect and like who've worked with me in the past, drummers, bass players, singers, you know, Robin McCauley and Rudy Sarzo and Frankie Banali and Vinny Appice and Brent Woods, and Steve Snyder, you know, all people who, you know, are friends of mine who I've worked with, who are participating, and you know, it's really been a joy. You know, we've had nothing but fun doing it as it should be. Not a tooth extraction, not a painful, oh my God, but wow, this is turning out really good, and everybody giving 100% to try to make something special for me. So I feel really lucky, and you know, the fact that I have this great studio partner, Bobby Ferrari, with this great studio here, Vegas View Recording in Henderson. You know, it's 18 minutes from where I'm living in Vegas, and it's a world-class studio with an SSL, and Bobby's just, you know, great engineer, producer. He's been really helpful with getting this together and taking the pressure off of me being the artist and being the producer. You know, he's really, you know, really helped to make this the fun experience that it has been and continues to be. And also my old Balance mate, the guy that I worked with in Balance back in the day, Doug Guitarist, the keyboard player, he co-wrote the 4 songs with me. He's helped to arrange the stuff. He's also one of the co-producers. And between Bobby and Doug, you know, my brother's involvement and all the others, everybody's giving me the support that I need to be able to, okay, so you're going to stand on your own 2 feet now. This is your thing. Like I'm saying, I never did this before. I hid behind band, hid behind being the producer, hid behind being the ghost guitar player, hid behind being the nameless writer, arranger, producer, whatever it was. So I'm not hiding now. You know, I am realistic. I'm not doing this. I'm not going to be Beyonce. I'm not going to be the Foo Fighters. I'm going to be Bob Kulick. That's going to be enough. That's enough for me to be able to finally have something that was written and conceived not to make money, not to get a record deal, not to be famous. None of those reasons, because all of that's impossible. It doesn't exist anymore in my world. Mm-hmm. I just want people to go, wow, you know what? This is really great stuff. That's all I need from this. So, you know, I can't wait for people to hear it because I do think it's special. And I think when people hear this, they're going to be like, wow, we just thought he would just get out there and do a few instrumentals and just jam his way through a couple of covers. And this is like, wow, listen to this material. This is like really thought out. And with all these guys on there, it's really something special. That's what I'm hoping for. So we'll see soon enough.
And Bob, are you going to go the route to make like a promo video and all that good stuff with this?
Don't know. I you know, haven't gotten that far yet.
Okay.
I want to see what having the EP ready with the book ready brings in terms of, I know there were people who were interested in putting out the book. I know there are going to be people interested in helping out with the recording. And to that end, I would be open if a label were to approach and say that, so what would it take to make a full CD out? How could we get 30 more people and then you have 40 friends on here? Mm-hmm. What would that take? So we'll just have to see if it makes sense financially, if it makes sense time-wise. I know a lot of the other guys that I know in the business who are players and singers that I've seen either at Lemmy's funeral, may he rest in peace, or the NAMM show from a couple of weeks ago, you know, the Billy Sheehan's of the world, you know, all of these other players, Jeff Scott Soto and Doug Pinnick and my buddy Eric Singer and a whole bunch of people who I've used on some of my records in the past have all been like, what happened to me? So you're doing all this, and where am I on this? Well, I'm in Vegas, and I can only use so many people, so do more songs. So everybody's encouraging me to do more, and, you know, let's see what fate has in store.
Wow. And this is obviously going to be the real Bob Kulick we've never heard before.
Well, it'll be the different Bob Kulick in that these are 4 songs no one's ever heard before, and, you know, I like it in a combination with people that haven't done this before. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, this will be something brand new. And
your friendship with Lemmy has been for a long time, obviously, and I'm sure you're still really sad, for what happened to Lemmy. The greatness that he's being remembered for now. What's your take on that?
Yeah, it's still very hard to accept. Somebody that I did a lot of work with, was very lucky and successful with. Won a Grammy with Lemmy doing Whiplash. The Metallica song that was Best Metal Performance 2006, and the theme for Triple H, The Wrestler, which was I played guitar on and produced, which was the theme of themes. That theme song has been going on for 16 years and will continue. Lemmy's voice and just the whole thing just worked really great. But more than that, Lemmy was really a musician's musician, and all the projects that I did where I needed help to get started. So I need to cut a track. You want to put a band together and we'll record a song. He was always amenable to playing music. He was always amenable to having fun. A real musician, not somebody interested in money, somebody interested in having fun and having this lifestyle, which he had. Lemmy was an extremely unique person. Like I said, his funeral, he was like a modern day pirate. Somebody who, acted like a pirate, dressed like a pirate, did what he wanted when he wanted, like a pirate. Yet he had this really kind heart, and with the music that he was able to deliver, he affected so many people. While the band couldn't have a residency in Las Vegas or headline Madison Square Garden, when Lemmy died, he was bigger than any of that. Which just to me showed how much of an influence he is, a person, a character, a role model, a rock star, how much he imparted on other people. People admired him. People looked up to him. People thought he was the real deal in a world of phonies, in a world of people putting on their stage clothes. The world was his stage. He didn't wear stage clothes. What he wore that day was what he wore on stage. It's a huge difference to most people. Most people don't realize that there were people who live, breathe, sleep, are that. It's not their weekend job. It's not like, I'll go puff my hair out and put on my tight jeans and go on stage now. It's not that. And the world's a worse place without those people. The world's a worse place without Lemmy. That's for sure.
Wow. Very well said. And he'll be remembered, forever.
Yeah. No, I agree. We discussed this. I discussed this with him. The line from Gladiator. What we do in life echoes in eternity.
Right.
Well, that goes double for him. Double for him.
Very well said. Well, Bob Kulick, I really appreciated this interview, and the stuff you're saying in this is great. I mean, we've got a lot of knowledge and really good products we're waiting to see. Excellent stuff.
Great. Yeah, I'm excited. If I was in any way insecure about what I'm doing, I wouldn't be blabbing my mouth about it. But I really feel that the book will be a great reflection and an interesting read for people who are fans of all these bands, Kiss and W.A.S.P and Diana Ross and Alice Cooper and Lou Reed, and just my story of being lucky enough to be in a position to be talented enough to be hired and work with some of the best of my generation.
You're right.
Really lucky. But the stories in and of and by themselves are unique stories of insights into the business that people normally don't see. All they see is what they see on stage. The behind-the-scenes stuff is rarely ever discussed or seen. And to me, that's as big a part of the story as then the band came out and performed on Saturday Night Live, and it was great. You should have seen the 2 hours before the performance stuff. That was the real show. So to be able to tell some of those stories, that to me has been a lot of fun. Appreciate it. Thanks, Jason. It was a great interview. Good questions. Thanks again.
Hey, you're very welcome. Have a good day.
Okay. I'll speak to you soon. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Okay, bye.